Hi, welcome to Think Human. I'm Chris, and in this video I want to talk about what is right now, the current moment, and what does that even mean when we're talking about the universe we live in. So normally when we think about time, we could imagine a kind of a straight line. And in the middle we have moment right now. If you go somewhere to the left, we have the past or the far past or infinite past, however far we measure it. And to the right we could have the future, either a few seconds into the future, years, decades, or millions of years, or infinite time in the future. And we usually think of it as this kind of a solid timeline of just a straight line. And I would just like to explain and unpack this idea a little bit of why this isn't the best way to think about time if we really want to take into account the nature of the reality that we live in. So what we learned from general relativity is that space and time are interconnected. So the way that space is warped and curved influences the way the time passes. Also, the theory of special relativity, in which how fast you are moving also influences the passing of time for you. So we could have some examples, like if you are at near some strong gravitational field, let's say a black hole. The closer you are to a black hole, for you, time always passes normally from your point of view, but from someone else looking at you from far away when you're close to the black hole, you seem to be in slow motion. Time for you seems to be slowed down. And when you come back from the black hole and meet the people who are watching you, for them, they may be aged for tens of decades, hundreds of years, millions of years, might be long gone, long dead, and for you, only time has passed however long you were in there. You could be close to a black hole for just an hour, come back and see hundreds and thousands of years passed for the outside universe. This is a strange effect, but this effect isn't only in the extreme universe. We can see this every day on our own planet as well. Like we said from this example, the closer we are to a gravitational field, the slower time moves for us. So let's say you are really close to Earth and you have a twin who goes on the top of a mountain. For the twin at the top of the mountain looking at you, time for you would pass slightly slower from their point of view. For you, time would still be normal, but for them there would be a difference. This difference isn't significant in everyday life. It isn't something we can really perceive and notice. So for all practical intents and purposes, it's as if, it's right now, it's normal time, nothing changed. Actually, this effect of time dilation is really seriously needed to take into account if we're talking about satellites for GPS, who need to measure and track movements on the planet. For the satellites up there, time passes a bit faster. So all of this needs to be taken into account for calculations if we really want to have accurate positioning on the Earth. So general relativity needs to be taken into account every day, this profoundly strange effect of space and time being connected in a strange way we need to think about every day for our whole civilization to work. So coming a bit more down back to Earth, when we're talking about right now, we can be both in a room somewhere and I can say right now and you can look at me and you can hear me say it, but light takes time to reach me to you. And sound also takes time from me to reach to you and vice versa. So what we're getting is a picture of the past, a representation of the past. We don't get the instant moment of really right now. There is always some difference in what is right now. Now, of course, in everyday life, it really isn't important if we're a few meters away from each other. Like, this is no big deal. This, for all intents and purposes, is right now. We can see it getting a bit stranger when we look at lightning that's some kilometers or miles away, and you can see the lightning right away, but you can hear it in like a couple of seconds. That's already making the picture a bit stranger. What is right now? The point being, relativity. You can say here right now, but let's say you have a friend on Jupiter, and light, any information, takes 2 hours to travel to Jupiter. So if you wanted to have an actual conversation, send a message, get back a message, it would be a total of 4 hours. For you to say right now on Jupiter literally makes no sense, because there can be no communication between you and Jupiter. Maybe that's not extreme enough. Think about another star that's light years away, so it takes years for information to travel. What about a galaxy that's millions of years further away? Then the notion of time, there is no preferred right now. There is no preferred here and right now. In the universe we live in, there is no correct observer. Your right now is not more correct than a galaxy somewhere billions of light years away. Their right now is just as valid as your right now. There is no reasonable concept of simultaneity, I hope you know what I'm trying to say, simultaneous, however you would pronounce that word. There is no real concept or meaning in right now relative to large distances. Right now only works in a small bubble around us. Light right now only works in a bubble where light and sound can travel fast enough that for us it makes no difference. Outside of that bubble, meaning of right now really falls apart. Even in the fundamental laws of physics of our universe, there is no concept of time. There is no notion of past, present, or future, or any difference between them. In the fundamental laws of our universe, there is no difference in time. There is no time in there. And I understand some people looking at it, and I have looked at it the same way. Well, you know what I mean. I mean right now, like this time that I'm feeling right now, this right time in a galaxy somewhere else. But if you really start going through that, how interactions move, like absolutely no information could travel somewhere millions of light years away. That right now, it's like an empty black void of unknown. There is no meaning in right now in our actual universe. Space and time get warped. Depending how fast you go, you can move close to the speed of light, come back from wherever you came from. You were on the journey only for maybe a few hours. For other people, thousands of years have passed. Who is to say what is right now in that kind of world? You go close to a black hole for hanging out for a couple of weeks, you come back, whole civilization is destroyed, there are aliens now in the oceans and whatever is going on. What point was right now in that equation? What point there was right now for you where you could have said, oh, it's right now for everyone else as well? Time and space is fundamentally so bizarre, strange, that right now it just doesn't work outside this small bubble around us as human being. On Earth, this works for our everyday life. It works. We are medium-sized beings on a medium-sized world. But when we go further from all of that, this falls apart. And I hope it makes some sense. So this is just some thoughts about time and right now. What does that even mean? I hope you got some thoughts from this. If you have any thoughts, please leave them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and take care.